Everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. We're back in the 3.5 Monster Manual, and right now we're working on the Ogre. And so we've crafted an Ogre in the last part, and in this part we're going to paint the Ogre. And I think we're going to do something cool. Well, maybe we're going to do something cool. It's hard to say. He is not 100% dry. There's a little stickiness on him, but I think it's going to be alright. Probably be good to get him re-glued on there. Okay, we'll let that sit for a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to base coat him all in brown, and we're going to do a step down paint job on him. And that means we're going to do darks, and we're going to work our way down to lights, and then do dry brushes to tie stuff in together. And we'll see, we're going to have to get a good coat on him because there were some spots where I just didn't get in there well with the spray paint. And that's okay. I'm going to get a little bit of water in my brush. Yeah, there's bubbles in my water because it's soapy. Let's get in here and start painting him. And when you start with the darkest color, any of the cracks you couldn't get to or left behind are going to remain that darkest color. And you're going to implement them into your paint job. So I've used ogres in tons of different ways over the years. I've had ogres that were smart. I've had ogres that were like pretty much just giant human cavemen. A lot of my ogres I paint flesh tone. And then I got into this, like, my ogres are green. They're like giant orcs. And they're, you know, like just like a challenged human intelligence of 8 kind of deal. They can't read and write, or do math real well, but they can hold a conversation. You know, I've just gone through different iterations of what ogres are over the years in my games. And I think what I've settled on is that ogres are like giant baby men. They're just selfish and angry, and maybe a couple of them are a little smarter than the rest, but in general, they're kind of uneducated and unintelligent. Not that they can't be taught, but it takes a little more work. And that's kind of what I settled on. I am doing this one in flesh tone for the video, but I am still doing my ogres in grays and greens. We're going, you know, we're making the monster manual. We're not making Doom's private collection here. So we'll do something, you know, where you can at least get a technique you can use on how you're doing your ogre if you're doing one by the book. I think we're pretty much covered up here, it looks like. Okay. We want to make sure we get excess paint off any of the real detail areas so it doesn't ruin any work we've done. And we're going to start. Alright, I'm going to toss him in. Toss that brush in the water. I'm going to set my paint off to the side. We're going to start with magic. I know in the creation video we were using a lot of minor burning hand spell, but now we're going to switch to a magic item because I know you guys love it when I use magic items. And this is my +2 hot air gun of burning. He's pretty dry. He's not perfectly dry. Now I'm going to get a lighter tone. This is called nutmeg, and this is a little bit of an orangish brown. And I am going to hit him with a dry brush to see what we're working with here. And when I say a dry brush, it's not a real dry brush. I'm just kind of, my brush has got very little paint on it, but it's not a dry brush. And this is going to make some of those details we want to look at pop. And it's going to create an interesting undertone for dry brushing or anything else we want to do. So you can see his hair turned out pretty decent. We didn't leave any real flat spots in there. That's a relief. I was worried about that. And there's definitely some decent musculature left over that we can paint into and work on. I'm going to do his head and face a little better, though, so I can see how much detail we have there to work with. We have some decent amount of detail to work with there. I can live with that. Alright, I'm fairly pleased with where I am on him. But I think we can bring him down lighter even. So this is chestnut, and I think it's a little lighter than that. It's definitely a little more orangish red than that for sure. I am not drying him off, but I am taking a good bit of this paint out of the brush. Alright, cool. I think I'm pretty pleased with him. I'm going to set that brush off to the side. I'm going to put it in my water, actually. I'm done with it. I'm going to use the +2 hot air gun burning. And just make sure this is all dry and in place. And it's not going to move around when we start on the next part. Alright, for this next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a like a cheapy brush like this. It's smaller, that I have more control where I can tone them down at. And I'm going to make I'm going to get a flesh tone going. So what I have here is, this is called Sun-Kissed Peach. This, with a medium brown, will give us some control. Looking for melted chocolate. There we go. This is a medium brown. So with this peach and this brown, my thought is that we can work down, let me move this so you can see, a darker skin tone to start with. I'm going to wipe a lot of that off. This reminds me of the older grim darky kind of paint jobs I used to do, where there was like really drastic pronunciation of the muscles and stuff. I kind of got away from this style. But I really do like it. Now we're going to get that lighter color and mix something a little lighter. And if you see where the old color is and the new color is, you don't want to be so drastic that it's like a night and day at this point. We've already got our layers, okay? So now we want to just make something a little lighter. And then we want to start giving the appearance of layers. So I'm going to hit his face with that, the top of his chest with that. Definitely going to focus on his shoulders and upper arms and back of his hands, his fingers. Okay. Fronts of his knees, tops of his feet, backs of his ankles. And then you just go back around and get the spots that you didn't lighten up quite enough. Okay. He's got a very dirty caveman-y look going on, and that's what we wanted to capture there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on his hair. I think the smart way to go about that would probably be with a speed paint. Oh, knocking shit down. Knocking stuff down. Sorry, folks. All right, so for his hair, I'm just going to get this this black color here. This is called Grim Black. There we go. Bam! I'm getting a small brush. This is my starter brush I use a lot. I'm going to pull that down, and I'm going to carefully using this brown undertone that we have in place here. Start picking out his hair. I probably should have ate something. I always say that. When I come down here in the mornings and I don't eat, I shake really bad. It's probably sugar or something. All right, cool. Since we have that black out, we're going to start using that black speed paint to darken up the medium brown and make the tones for some of this other stuff on him. And I don't know how smart or dumb that is, but that's what we're going to do. So we're going to make it a shoulder pad. A darker color. And then we're going to darken that up a little bit more and do the strap for it. If you get on any of that wire, it's okay. We're going to come back and paint that wire anyways. Okay, I think we got that pretty good. Now what we need to do is pants. And I'm not sure what color I want to do those pants in. So let's get this brown. And we'll get this peach. We'll get this black. And we'll make a hideous color to do the pants in. Right. Let's do his bag a little different. Let's get just dab a red up here. And yes, I have lots of reddish brown colors and stuff. I know. You don't have to remind me. We're going to lighten that same color up with this. Okay. We're going to do that strap. Then let me get a little bit of this here. I'm going to just touch up around the front of this where I don't like it. I'm going to do the handle of his sword in that same color. Okay, so for the sword, I'm going to wash my brush out and use a different brush. I'm going to get this medium size 3 brush that I use a lot. I'm going to get my favorite color on earth, pavement. It's definitely a top-notch color. I'm going to paint that blade pavement. I'm going to hit these rocks too. Okay. Make sure there's not too much excess wet on that so it dries nice. I'm going to wipe a lot of this pavement off too. I'm going to come back and hit these spikes, darken those up a little bit. Okay. Just going to hit his hair in some spots where I want to lighten it up a little bit. And since the speed paint's not completely dry, it's going to have varying levels of effectiveness to what it does and doesn't do. Okay. Let's set that paint aside and watch that brush out. Let's hot air gun this guy. Alright, so we're going to need metal for the sword. So I'm going to get the darkest gunmetal that I have here. We're going to do the spikes. All right. Now, let's get that red and get inside this mouth with it a little bit. Okay. And then we'll dry that off with the hot air gun. We're going to get a yellow. We're just going to drag that along his teeth. I'm going to get it off-white for his eyes. I'm going to switch to a tiny brush. me get a tiny bit of black. I'm gonna get that off white. Just gonna make a touch-up color where I got pink on the side of his mouth. Okay. Let me get a different red and do his irises with this. Okay, I'm not going to do pupils. All right, let's get a medium gray color. This is called elephant gray. I'm going to get a lot of the moisture out of this brush. I'm just going to use my hands to do that. I don't use paper towels. I use t-shirts in my mouth. Okay. Just going to drag that on the rocks real easy. And then I'm going to drag it around his hair in some spots. We don't want to ruin his hair or lighten it up significantly. I'm going to touch the handle of his sword a little bit and give that a little something there. I'm also going to bring it around on his shoulder pad some. I'm going to hit the tops of his pants, right across his little butt cheeks. Hit that strap a little bit. I'm going to get that brown and that gray. La 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 la. Darken that up a little bit more. I'll wipe a lot of that off. We're going to hit his bag with that, just to give it some wear and tear. Touch around his shoulder pad edge here and here. His little butt again. Top of his legs again. I'm pretty happy with him. All right, now we're not done. Let me put some colors away. We'll let him sit for a moment while I do that. Brown's way in here, gray's in here. There we go, pink in there. All right, let's turn this around and let's get some clear glue. We just need a little bit. That's probably more than we needed. I have some crusty toothpicks laying around that have been used for a myriad of things. I'm just going to pull some glue off that. It was dry. And let's get some flock on this base. There are some areas where I had some glue funkiness early on when I was setting this up. So I'm going to make sure I get glue down in there and cover those areas up. The areas that I don't want to deal with are the ones I'm covering up here. Okay. Areas where there's a little bit of mistakes. I didn't do much in the way of variation except for some dry brush stroke down here. So my ground is looking very plain. Now you could use a brush for this part. I've just gotten to the habit that I don't. You can use whatever you want. It's your mini. But this is definitely going to add a little bit of color to him. And just one little final thing I want to do so he matches other miniatures that I have. I don't know if I do this with ogres or not, but I tend to do it with fancy miniatures that I think will be played as a player character. And I have a feeling I have 4 sons. And because he doesn't look like all my other ogres, I'm going to have to make a story as to why, because that's kind of what I do. So someone's going to say, hey, why does he look different? I'm going to say, well, he's a 3/4 ogre, or he's a half ogre, or he's whatever, you know. Does he know how to craft? Well, he may. Depends on how you build him, I suppose. Because they're going to want to know why he has this sword. But what they don't know is this is just a sword that a dead giant had left behind that he picked up. And he grinded it against rocks and tried to sharpen it and got it to a size that he could wield it a little better. That he did not make this sword. And it is not a true ogre sword. But they don't know until they find out. Alright, there's my ogre. I hope you like it. I hope it teaches you some ideas, or gives you some ideas, not teaches you some ideas. I don't teach ideas that I can think of. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon, all that happy crappy. Leave me a comment, share it with your friends. Come join our Discord. There's a link in the description. Come check out the website, maybe buy some minis. It's not the ones we're crafting here, it's real minis. But check those out. Maybe buy some, help out a little bit. That'd be great. If you don't, that's fine too. We're not dying here. Dungeon Swag will always be around. So thanks for watching, and I think we're on the Ogre. I know we're on the Ogre Mage next, so we'll see you next time.